Hans Wormhat. So this is a video on the genitals of these invert creatures. And so I guess I'll do the main points first. The main points are looks can be deceiving, and you've been brainwashed since birth to accept these trannies, okay? Every single porn star is a tranny. The male porn stars are FTM, the female porn stars are MTF. So obviously none of us realized that something was wrong, so looks they're not right. You can't just trust the looks. Skulls and bones. A penis is not a skull or a bone. A vagina is not a skull or a bone. It's an organ. And the development of that sexual organ is triggered in utero by various hormone levels. So it's changeable. Very hard to change the humerus bone on a skeleton, but they can change these sex organs. And I've proven that sex organs are malleable in utero. So that's what they do. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that they literally come out of the womb with the flipped part. It's a female fetus, but it'll come out of the womb with a penis, and they say it's a boy, and they raise it as a boy. It's a free Martin with a penis. So feminine penis, totally a thing. A masculine meaty vagina, totally a thing. It's gross. And so yeah, big point number one. It's gonna look okay a lot of times, unless you're very keen observer. That's just like that's the story of this whole tranny thing. Now, once you learn how to spot it, then you can recognize the difference. So that's what this video is about. I'll tell you about the differences, but I would say the number one thing is that their parts just aren't as functional as regular men and women. That's the biggest difference. It's gonna look okay, especially from a distance. However, the functionality is just not there. Satanists are really into sodomy. It's because their parts don't even work correct. Their vaginas don't work like a regular woman's. Their penis is often small, which is better for sodomy. And I don't know, I don't even want to think about it. They're gross, but I know from creatures that have disclosed to me, there's creatures that I know that they say that the only type of sex they have is sodomy. They've disclosed that to me before. So it's true. That's just a truth. They're just letting you know. I mean, I think that they probably want to pretend like that's normal, and they want to convince regulars to do it too. Anyways, so how they don't function, let me just split it up into MTF, FTM. So I have personal experience, unfortunately, with the MTF trannies. And so functionality-wise, why it just doesn't work like a regular, it's not as good as a regular woman's. It's not going to be as like, so yeah, sorry, this video is just going to get a little bit technical sometimes. So it's just not as like self-lubricating and things like that. But the functionality will work okay. You know, I'm sure that there's variance to these things. I'm sure that some MTF have parts that really don't work, and that they have a really short vagina and things like that. Because there are cases like that. There are medical problems where a woman's like vagina is not developed enough. That's probably just an MTF, but it'll function well enough. But it's not quite. They also don't like it as much. It doesn't bring them as much pleasure. My MTF disclosed to me once that it just didn't even feel like anything. That's what they told me. They were like, sex just doesn't feel like anything. And at the time, I thought it's because he was on antidepressants. I was like, well, that can kill your libido or whatever. No, it's because it's a tranny creature. This isn't a regular vagina. It's a male. I don't know. It's just, they don't work right. They get a lot of weird discharge. Ugh, sorry. But it's true. MTF, they get nasty discharge, just like all the time. and that's not regular. That's not normal. What else? MTF. So MTF, their parts are too bony. Real women are soft down there. MTF are like bony. It's a bony man's body with a weird roast beef vagina put on it. And also the positioning is too high up. Men's genitals are positioned higher up on the body. Women's genitals are positioned lower down. And that does cross over to the trannies. MTF's vaginas they're just higher up on their pelvic mound region than a regular woman. And yeah, the look, it looks like porn stars. Just go look at porn. Don't. I mean, hopefully you've been exposed to this enough that you can just think back. Yeah, porn stars, they all have that, like, their labia minora are very exposed and large, and roasties, that's MTF. Sure, after a woman has given birth a few times and things like that, her vagina might slowly start going more in that direction. However, these MTF, they look like that from a very young age. And it's because they don't have the right fat deposits of a woman, and it's just different. Also, yeah, the last thing, the perineum. So the perineum is the area between your genitals and your anus. Men have a longer perineum and women have a shorter perineum. And the MTF, they have a bigger perineum than a regular woman will have. A regular woman's vagina and anus are very, very close together. But on an MTF, that's going to be a bigger gap. So yeah, I think that's basically it for the MTF. They don't get pleasure out of it. That's why a lot of them prefer sodomy. It doesn't lubricate as well as it should, and they get gross discharge, and they look like roast beefy, bony. So, yeah, that's MTF. Now, so let's move over to FTM. So I have a lot of actually comments that people have talked to me about trannies that they've been with. I've even had people like say that they're pretty sure that they were with someone that was using a prosthetic that was glued down. There are some very realistic looking prosthetic penises out there. So Hollywood magic. Yeah, it's gross. So yeah, FTM. So again, I'll just kind of go through that checklist again. Well, so their penises are often smaller than a real man. There's this notion of showing and growing. You've heard that, right? That's just a trannyism. Real men are showers and growers. Real men present well when they're not even hard, and then if a real man gets erect, it grows a lot. Yeah, real men are showers and growers. I don't know, this shower-grower thing, it's just a weird trannyism. You really should be both. Men shouldn't be micro in either scenario. A grower is probably just a tranny that has a penis pump or so there's these penis implants. Gosh, it's so gross. It reminds me of the shoes that you would pump up. They like pump up their testicle, and it pumps up their scrotum, or it pumps up their penis thing. I don't know, have you ever been with a man that had to fiddle around with his testicles a bunch before it would get hard? Because that's a penis implant. Yeah, so FTM, they have trouble getting hard. Why Viagra is such a huge thing? It's because it helps the trannies. Real men, you know, we need like an anti-Viagra practically. It's like, keep that thing down. All it takes is like a thought to get a real man going. So the fact that there's young men popping pills to get hard, those aren't men. That's ridiculous. Real men don't have any trouble, honestly. Real men just have to think about it. Just have to like kiss somebody. Boom, they're ready to go. If you've ever been with a man who takes all this preparation, real men don't take preparation. It takes about half a second of preparation for a man to be ready for sex. So too much prep doesn't get hard. If you've ever been fooling around with a guy and you go reach for the pants and that thing is soft, that is not a real guy. If a real guy's fooling around, you're gonna get excited, okay? There's just no stopping it. Because I've heard that before. When I was in high school, I was making out with this guy in the car and I reached down in his pants and it was just soft. Yeah, that's not a regular man. That's just not possible. That's a tranny. So I've also heard all sorts of things. They can't get hard all the way. I've heard all sorts of people that are like, yeah, my ex-husband or my boyfriend had just like this weird half soft, half hard, like noodly thing. That's not a regular penis. And that's why I said the biggest, sometimes they'll look weird too, but I mean a penis. Some of them, I don't know, a lot of them look weird, but that's probably because a lot of them are these FTM gross things. Yeah, what was I going to say? The biggest difference is performance issues. Real men, real women, it all works great. It's easy. Sex is so easy. It's like the easiest thing ever. But with the trannies, it's like, it's a whole ordeal. It's like a preparation. I know some women, real women that are with FTM, and they say things like, they only ever go on top. That's so strange. It's because their husband's penis is some sort of contraption that doesn't function correctly, and just the best way for it is to just force their wife to do everything. Things like that. I don't know, if even erectile dysfunction issues, I think that's just mostly creature problems. I really don't think men are going to be getting all these erectile issues. So yeah, also, so sure, FTM, their perineum, the space between like whatever, where their scrotum ends and their anus, that's going to be smaller than on a regular man. So I don't know, you can even go check out porn stars and stuff if you're really interested, but I don't know. I think it's better to just stay away. Circumcision. I think the whole point of circumcision is for these trannies. Because trannies, they get physmosis a lot more than regular men. Physmosis is tightening of the foreskin, where the foreskin is too tight for the glands to come all the way through. I think that's a tranny issue. So I think that's what circumcision's all about. They needed to circumcise because they're these trannies. Their penises aren't quite right, so they needed this surgical procedure. Yeah, I think that's really most of it. It just doesn't work right. If you've ever been with somebody, they avoid sex too, like the plague. They use sex in the beginning of the relationship to reel you in, but these creature sex parts don't work right. The sex is going to drop off, and they're going to start to just, they're going to put you in a dead bedroom situation. That's just the way trannies are, because then they can use sex as a tool to manipulate you. So, all right, that's it for this one. God bless everybody.